Well, good morning. Here we are, and I'm so excited. We are another book launch livecast here at Ignite Press. As you can see, I have with me Joanne Cumiskey, and we're going to be talking about her book, Breakthrough Brilliance: From Stopping Points to Turning Points. Now, before we jump in, just want to let you know that we here at Ignite Press specialize in helping people bring their messages to the world. If you have written a book or have thought about writing a book in order to get your message out to the world, please reach out to us. And you can find us at ignitepress.us. That's ignitepress.us. But let's now go to the main event and to our VIP. Joanne, welcome to your book launch.
Oh my gosh, it's an exciting day to say the least. And I do, of course, want to give a great thank you to you, certainly Everett, and the whole Ignite Press team with Zelda and Malia. And this has been just a wonderful journey. So thank you for that.
Well, you are welcome. We've enjoyed working with you, and it is exciting. It really is an honor for us to be able to do what we do, because we get to be the magnifying glass, or I'm not sure. We get to be Archimedes' lever, and it's exciting for us to do this. So, well, Joanne, let's jump into your beautiful book. And we're so excited that today is the launch day. And I suppose we ought to tell everybody before we go too far that we're on a launch day special right now, where the Kindle is actually reduced to 99 cents. And so please pick that up. And by the way, even if you don't typically read Kindle versions, just know that there is a Kindle reader on every smartphone, on every tablet, and even available for laptops and desktop computers. So you don't have to have like a Kindle device or something. Please pick that. And of course, the paperback is available as well. So, all right. Well, Joanne, why don't we do this to get us started? Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your background, and then we'll dive into the book.
Perfect. That sounds perfect. Thank you, Everett. Well, first and foremost, I like to say that I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend. I have wonderful colleagues. And of course, I'm a wife to my husband, Temple. And then I like to say that I'm a businesswoman. Now, there are those who would probably think it goes in a different order than that, but that's the order that I like to present myself in. But certainly I've enjoyed a lengthy career over my lifetime. And if I talk about the business side of the equation, I did start out in one of those management trainee roles. And over a number of years, I found myself managing 200 people, where we were really honored, to say the least, to receive the Opal Award for our sales and our operational efficiencies and our retention. And that was a national award in a very large organization. And so it's something that I'm quite proud of. But then I went out on my own and started my business after being in corporate America for 20 years. And of course, that had its ups and downs, but it's been very good because I was able to balance my time with my daughter while she was growing up. I liked the flexibility of self-employment. And of course, always my priority on my calendar first had to do with my daughter's activities and things that she was doing. And so it's been a good run, to say the least. So that kind of gives you a quick overview of what I've done over a number of years. And so I'm very happy to be at this juncture in my life.
Fantastic. And I know the last 12 months have been a challenging time. Oh gosh. It looks like you've got a guest.
How are you?
Hi, April.
How did she do that, Everett?
I think you shared well, either way, it
Oh,
doesn't
I
matter. It's
shared the
great.
wrong link with her.
But that's awesome. April, how are you doing?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we can't
I
hear
don't know
you,
if we have
April.
your mic. I'm not hearing you just yet, April. But this is fantastic because April's part of this journey too. You guys have known each other for a long time, right,
Oh,
Joanne?
long time, 20 years plus.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Oh my goodness, fantastic. And also I know she's been part of your journey. And for those in the audience, April is one of our longtime authors and clients, and we're just excited to see her. And April, did you get your mic going or not? If not, it's fine. No. Okay. All right. Well, great seeing you. And thanks for the cameo. See, you get these famous people to come in and do cameos. It's just like in the movies. So, April, thank you so much. And let's see here. We'll do that. All right. Well,
All
that was
right.
fun.
Well, yeah, well, that was sort of a surprise and a delight at the same time. And may I just share with the audience that April's been on this journey with Everett as well with her Ready Set Change book. And her and I have been friends and colleagues for a long, long time. And so she has certainly been a guide for me along with Kathy Fyock, who was my book coach. And I guess what I really want to stress is that this is never a journey you do on your own, and you need all of these experts behind you because that is what brings you to the finish line, or we're crossing the next line with launch day today.
Well, and you mentioned Kathy. She is in the audience right now, and she said, "This is such an achievement, Joanne. Just got my Kindle copy.
Hey.
Congrats." And then actually, when she saw April come on, she's like, so cool to see you all together. So, just fantastic. But
Right.
I
Good.
love this because this is part of what we do, right? Is here we are um, to help celebrate, right?
Yes.
We're here to have this fun together and celebrate the accomplishment. So let's dive into the book. Who did you write Breakthrough Brilliance for, and maybe how did that come about?
Well, let me, I guess, let me just fill in a few gaps, if I may, because
Terrific.
what I want to say is that I have thought about writing a book for years. I've been a member of the National Speakers Association, as are Kathy and April. So that's another deep connection that we all have. And, I would see all my colleagues writing books, and I'd have these ideas, and I could never really quite bring them all together. And so what happened over time is I probably set that on the back burner. And then I did meet Kathy Fyock as we were both living in Florida at the time. And lo and behold, I decided that I'm going to use Kathy as my book coach. But what really brought me to the point of saying I was going to write the book is that I had been listening to a podcast and really, debating what I should do about retirement. And the host of that podcast said, "What would you do if you went beyond the beyond?" And I thought, what would I do? And I immediately knew I would push out my planned retirement date for 5 years and I would write my book. And then Kathy came along, and then she provided me all kinds of advice and guidance and wisdom. And here we are today. And so the other component of this is that I have another friend whose name is Pam, and we would talk often on the phone. And I would always talk about, what's your stopping point? What's your stopping point? And Pam would say to me, "You should write a book about that." And so you can kind of see how all these different, avenues have kind of come into a central point for where we are today. And so, thus, Breakthrough Brilliance was born from stopping points to turning points. And it's really geared toward those people who they are achievers, they're high achievers, but maybe they feel stuck or, halted or hindered in some way. And they just need to get back on track. And so you might have some of the different types of people that I see in my business as a trainer, consultant, and coach, is I see that we have the overwhelmed leader, we have the stalled professional, We have the ambitious entrepreneurs and business owners. And then, of course, we have the seasoned executives who really are looking for a turning point for, after a long, successful career. And so I work with a variety of different people, but their commonality is, this piece about they're sort of stuck and they need to get unstuck, is what they need.
Okay, excellent. And so thank you, because I was actually just going to ask you, what kind of clients do you work with? Like, and you just describe them. Categorically describe them for us. So that that really is fantastic. So thinking about your book and these people you've written it for, what do you want to see them get out of it? Like when you sat down to write this book, you knew that it wasn't like you're not doing this. You didn't write this book because you're trying to pat yourself on the back and say, look what I've done. You're doing this to change lives. So let's talk about some of that change.
Well, here's one of the things that I do frequently find when I talk with people about, oh, I'm writing this book on breakthrough brilliance, and I believe that we're all infused with brilliance. And you can really see people coil back and say, oh, I'm not brilliant. And I believe we are all brilliant, is what I believe, Everett. And so my real purpose is trying to get people to tap into what is already within them. And oftentimes people do not recognize that. But if I can get them to have these bold visions of who they are and what they are capable of, what that does is it helps to grow their confidence, their capability, and their capacity to achieve the ambitions that maybe are elusive for them, like writing the book was elusive for me. And so this is what I have found over the years that I have worked with my clients, is that, I would have all these specific things that I would do, but I had never organized them in such a way to understand, maybe even for myself, the big impact that I was making. And when I brought it all together in the book, then I was starting to talk about it in very specific terms. And the responses that I have been getting from my coaching clients and my participants in different training programs has really been astounding, even to me. And that's the value of writing the book.
Fantastic. Well, let's get into this. I mean, you talk about people, they reach a stopping point or a breaking point or something like that. Give us some practical advice that people can use um, when they find, whether I don't know whether they're reaching a point of frustration or a point of burnout or just a point of malaise, right?
Mhm.
Because sometimes that breakthrough is not when you're up against the wall, it's when you're just kind of in the doldrums or something like that.
Right.
So
Yes.
where do you take us from there?
Yeah, well, let me just say, yes, you're absolutely right. And I'm going to kind of talk briefly about my own story as I was going through this journey,
Great.
because Everett already alluded to it. And as I was getting ready to submit my manuscript, my husband ends up going into the hospital for 8 days. He was in a rehab facility for 10 days. And then he transitioned to assisted living, which was very unexpected. And so, as you can imagine, it created this huge stopping point for me with completing the book. And, for the most part of my life, I've always been somebody, I like to move forward and keep advancing and all of that. But then suddenly, I am confronted with this scenario where those things that I typically do suddenly stopped working. And I call that a precipitating incident, which you will read about in my book. And you really have to regroup, come back to clarity, focus, and momentum, and realize that things are probably not going to be the same as they once were. And so you have to create a different perspective about it.
So that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, you certainly confronted a new reality, a new unexpected reality in regards to temple, and certainly not something that you anticipated occurring anytime soon. Uh,
Right.
you know, so I think of it. I think that people making that adjustment to a new reality has got to be one of the hardest things. But I feel like you've got a system for that, and I appreciate that. Now, there is a part of your like I wanted to kind of want to know: is there a favorite part to your book?
Oh my gosh. you know, I'm going to say no. Heavens no is what I'll say. And the reason why I say that is because remember I had all these ideas cooking for a number of years. And then when I finally decided I was going to write the book, it really seemed like a jumbled mess, if I can be candid with you about that. And Kathy will attest to this as well, because Kathy, one of the things she said to me was have a good solid outline when you get started. I thought I did. And instead, what happened is I think I ended up writing 10 different outlines because I kept shifting and changing what I was going to do. So I wish I had that piece that was just sort of naturally unfolding. And remember, I'm working with 30 years of being in this business. And so I had way too much content and I really had to pare it down.
Yeah, and that's where I just for anyone out there, really, you need to know how invaluable a book coach is to really help you. And Kathy Fyock is fantastic, so I always recommend her. In fact, let's plug her. That's at Kathy Fyock, FYOCK.com, kathyfyock.com, and you'll find her there, and she's fantastic. In your book, you talk about one of the many things you talk about is about turning dormant potential into dynamic progress. Could you
Oh,
could you go into that a little bit for us? I know
sure.
I didn't prep you for that, so it's fine.
No, that's okay. I appreciate that you've brought it up because this speaks to what I was saying previously about people do not think of themselves as brilliant. And so there is a piece about that perspective that they need to work on so that they really own the brilliance that is within them. And when they own that brilliance, that's when the dormancy turns into the potential. And so I think it's important to remember that. Now, what I might ask, if I may, Everett, is I'd like to just read a few excerpts from my book that are related to this idea of the prism of perspective. Would that be okay?
Absolutely, that'd be terrific.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and explain the prism of perspective for
Yes, I will. All right. So here's my book, right? So here's my copy. And let me just give you a little bit of background on the perspective. I refer to clarity as your prism of perspective. Perspective is like a lens, it shapes how you see things. When you're aiming for clarity, that lens can either sharpen your vision or distort it. As a prism, it transforms clutter into clarity by helping you to see with depth, direction, and purpose. Your prism has three facets, each with a different view. And those three facets are when you zoom out, or you zoom in, or you flip the script completely. And those are the three facets of the prism of perspective. It is a great starting point for my clients in terms of realizing how they're viewing a stopping point and what they could or might do with it.
Okay, so that's really interesting, and I love the three prisms because I see what you're saying. Like sometimes you need to take a step back and look at the situation. Sometimes you need to get closer into the nitty gritty details.
Yes.
Um, and other times look at it completely differently. So I didn't prepare you for this, but is there a client story that you would like to share? And if you're not prepared for it, that's totally fine. I've got other questions I can ask you.
No, I will share. I will share it because early on, I was involved in doing these leadership academies where mid-level managers would come in and they would, go through a 9 month development program with me to become better leaders and prepare themselves for higher levels of responsibility. And there was one gentleman that I worked with who the first day that we were talking about what's your plan, what's it going to look like for these 9 months, and he said, well, I'm going to be the CEO of this company someday. And I will tell you, it kind of took me by surprise. But I thought, no, don't try to reel him in. Don't try to do anything different with this vision that he sees. He was so clear about it, Everett, that I wanted to run with it instead of trying to have it be, maybe a little more realistic. Well, the great story is that he was a perfect participant in the program. We kept in contact for many years afterwards. I tracked his upward mobility, and today he is in that position of running a very large company as he envisioned so many years ago. And it really started with that prism of perspective. So thank you for asking me about that.
Well, I think that's fantastic because yes, you could have tried to interject some we might have called it realism
Yes.
into his life and his expectations, but by not doing that, you really let him continue to go at it. It's kind of like my oldest son when he was like in third grade or something said he decided he wanted to be a doctor. And and honestly, because I think he saw the fancy cars that doctors
Oh,
drove.
yeah. Okay. Yes.
I think that
Yes.
was the reason. Um, and but we never like put it down or squelched that. I don't think I ever tried to interject any realism into his life. And then ultimately, he decided to become a physician's assistant,
Okay.
and he could have gone to med school, but he didn't. He wanted the balance, a little bit more
Hmm.
balance in his life. Um, but it's interesting. It's like this. Yeah, this applies to corporate consulting clients and also our children,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's true. That is true. Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
they have their breakthroughs as well. Now, was there, and maybe you kind of already answered this, but was there a part of the book that kind of wrote itself? I mean, that's the hard part. You're taking a lifetime of experience and putting it in a book, and that's a journey all of its own that we can talk about
Right.
too. But yeah, was there a part of the book that you're like, oh, I just knew I had to have this in there, or it just flowed off your fingers?
No,
Sometimes
well, I wish I could say yes to that, but I really can't, Everett, because it was such a for me it was like having to take things out. I got to take this out. Oh, in fact, here I'll share this because Kathy was so good. Oh my gosh, and so we have this mastermind with a couple other ladies that we get together once a month with things that we're doing, and I know when I took some of the ideas to them, they were like, I don't even know what that means, because I had like these concepts in there that were sort of nebulous. And I was using terms like the epicenter and the vector of intent and different things. And they're like, what is a vector? And then even Kathy was very good about, I do have something in the book about the accumulation quotient, which is about how our efforts multiply as you keep improving and adding to your capabilities and your confidence. But Kathy was like, you have completely lost me with all of these equations and everything that you have put in there. And so what I did is I pulled some of that content out and put it into my book vault, which is accessible if you buy the book. You'll have the address for how to get to the book vault that has 7 different additional items in there right now for what I took out of the book because it made it a better read. So thank you, Kathy, and thank you to the mastermind for helping me to do that.
Well, you just hit on something, and that's something that we all have to remember is, when we're writing for a target audience, each person in that target audience accepts that content a little bit differently, and
Mhm.
the things that make sense to you and to maybe 50% of your clients might not make sense to the other 50%. And so, yeah, that is an interesting part, which kind of brings me to this question. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday, about the process of writing a book. Did you find that the process of writing the book changed your
Oh,
business? Like before the
yes.
book ever comes out, do you find a benefit from the writing process?
I want to share that with our listeners here, certainly, Everett, because the value that I got out of this experience 30 years into my career was really being able to articulate the skills that I had been teaching people all along. Yes, I did put terminology with them. I added names for what this skill set is, but it's really in really when I look at my most recent coaching engagements that I've been doing, I'll start talking about these concepts that are in the book, and people are just like, oh my gosh, I just so totally get it. And I feel that because writing the book helped me focus so intently on some of these contents, that it made me better at serving my clients' needs. And so it's been a delightful, what do I want to call it? Maybe an aha. I think it's even more than an aha, because it's like a wow. Because, again, I have a lot of experience, but you don't always know what you don't know. And this has helped me to communicate it more efficiently and more succinctly.
So I love that because that's not why you wrote the book. Right.
No,
That was not a benefit that you were looking for. It's one that came about through the process, and, it's something that nobody thinks about when they're writing their book. They don't go, "I think I'm gonna write a book in order to help me really organize my thoughts and methodology and gain more clarity," and, they just don't that's just not why they do it.
right.
And so I love that as an additional, benefit.
Yeah,
Let
the
me,
unexpected bonus, the unexpected bonus.
I love that. Um,
Mhm.
and I was going to, oh yeah, before I forget, let's share this again. You
Oh,
know
thank
that
you.
Breakthrough Brilliance is available on Amazon today in paperback and in Kindle, and the Kindle is set at 99 cents. So please pick up your copy today, whichever way you read. That's great. Um, Also, it seems to me that this is a book that would be a great gift uh, for for the people in your life. And Joanne, do they need to be executives in order to benefit from this?
Not at all. In fact, I have several acquaintances who are buying them for their college bound children. They are buying them for their kids who are sort of entering managerial level positions. And what I'll also tell you is that I've had many nonprofits interested in it as well, because nonprofits, as you know, have large visions and large missions that they are trying to accomplish. And so the book really can be a study, if you will, in the types of behaviors that really lead you to these ambitions that may seem intangible. But when you use this methodology, it gives you a way to keep building step by step by step toward, really those greater ideas that you'd like to see come to fruition.
That's excellent. Well,
Yes.
Joanne, we actually are down to the last minute and a half, and I want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you. So, what's the best way for someone to reach you?
Well, I do have my website, joannecumiskey.com. So that's probably the easiest memorable piece. And my email is joanne@joannecumiskey.com. And then I'll just give you my phone number for texting or calling, and that would be 517-304-7676.
All right. Well, it's very kind of you to share that. Well, Joanne, thank you again. Congratulations on your book launch. And at this point, we'll just kind of take us out. Thank you again for joining us all on this live cast. Get your
Yes.
copy of Breakthrough Brilliance today.
Yes. Yay.
Yay, there it is. And then we're just really excited for the change that it's going to bring about in people's lives. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.